The Greek War of Independence begins in February 1821, when Greek armed forces clash with the Ottoman army in the Danubian Principalities, today's Romania and Moldova. However, hopes that the other peoples of the Balkans will also mobilize prove to be in vain, and the war comes to a standstill. The sacred band of Greeks is destroyed at Dragashani, and the few survivors eventually take refuge in the Peloponnese and central Greece. There, the revolution begins in earnest in March 1821. The army of Greek revolutionaries consists mainly of the inhabitants of areas which had a tradition of bearing arms, the Armatoli and the Klefts, but also of villagers and city folk who, although almost unarmed, joined the war enthusiastically. The Ottomans are forced to confine themselves in their castles and fortresses, which are laid siege to by the revolutionaries, sometimes successfully. The War of Independence gradually becomes more organized in character, and the need to create administrative structures and institutions calls for the organization of the earliest forms of government. At the same time, rivalries between political and social groups for power are intensifying, sometimes taking the form of civil conflicts that continue until the end of the war. The costs of the war are high. They are met at first by Peloponnesian notables and ship owners from the islands, then through taxation and compulsory contributions, and also through fundraising by Philhellenes in Europe and America. Philhellenism, the emotional bond that grows within Europeans towards the Greek War of Independence, evolves into a movement that manages to raise awareness among foreign governments regarding the fortunes of the Greek revolutionaries. There are numerous centers for the revolution all over Greece, including regions where revolutionary activity is neither favored by the population nor by the geographical location. In Thrace, Macedonia, Epirus, Thessaly, the islands of the Eastern Aegean, and even on the coast of Asia Minor, Greek populations awake to a vision of freedom and independence. However, it is in the Peloponnese, Rumeli, Crete, and the Aegean that the revolutionary army and navy managed to keep the struggle alive. The most memorable moments of the war include the fall of Tripolitsa and the victory against the regular Ottoman army at Dervenakia, as well as the extensive looting and massacres of the civilian Christian population on the islands of Chios and Psara. The heroic exodus of Messalongi serves to reinvigorate the Philhellenic movement in Europe, while the struggle in Crete highlights the patriotic tenacity of the revolutionaries. At sea, fire ships and cruiser operations demonstrate the great advances in naval capabilities that make the Greeks better prepared for combat. The national assemblies, constitutions, formation of the administration are the constituent acts of the nascent Greek state. However, in 1825, the Egyptian army and fleet, led by Ibrahim Pasha, joined the Ottoman side and land in the Peloponnese. The Greeks are defeated on the plain of Athens. The military action of the revolutionaries is seriously impacted, to the extent that the revolution itself is severely jeopardized. At the naval battle of Navarino in October 1827, the protection of the great powers finally materializes for the Greek struggle. The mediation of the United Kingdom, France and Russia gives the Greeks the opportunity to break free of their enslavement, become an autonomous people and build their own state. The first governor of liberated Greece, Ioannis Kapodistrias, endeavors to lay the foundations of a modern state under very difficult conditions of economic hardship and internal conflict. Central to the governor's plans and efforts, and of equal importance, are the needs to create state infrastructure and to offer care and support for the families of those who had sacrificed themselves. The establishment of orphanages, schools, courts, agricultural and military schools, local governments and prisons, as well as the implementation of state control over commercial transactions, lay the foundations for the development of a healthy state administration. However, his centralized style of government gives rise to a strong opposition. The loss of his opponent's privileges leads to his assassination in Nafplion on the 9th of October 1831. His death destroys the first substantial attempt to establish a strong public administration